Hello again, and welcome to the 15th episode in our video series. I'm Dr. David Van Nuys, co-author with Michael Kelleher of the book This is the Zodiac Speaking, Into the Mind of a Serial Killer. By now, I'm going to assume that you've seen my previous 14 YouTube installments. I appreciate the comments that a number of you have posted. I'm sorry there's been such a long break since the last one. I didn't decide to quit, but I did get very busy, and also I wasn't feeling the energy to continue. However, I've received several emails requesting that I do continue, so I guess I'm back by popular demand or semi-popular demand. Now, I've previously gone over all the letters received immediately after the 7 documented attacks and given a summary of my initial impressions in the last episode. Now we come to the Zodiac's 8th letter, the letter to the legendary San Francisco attorney Melvin Belli. My co-author Michael Kelleher notes that out of the 22 Zodiac letters written over nearly a decade, this is the only one that hints at remorse. Kelleher speculates that the Zodiac may have been fearful that the police were closing in on him and may have been trying to set himself up for an insanity defense. Also, Kelleher points out that Belli was well known for being against the death penalty. Let me read through the Belli letter quickly and then step through it with some of my own observations. So the Zodiac writes, "Dear Melvin, this is the Zodiac speaking. I wish you a happy Christmas," spelled Christ Mass again. "The one thing I ask of you is this: please help me. I cannot reach out for help because of this thing in me won't let me. I'm finding it extremely difficult to hold it in check. I'm afraid I will lose control again and take my 9th and possibly 10th victim. Please help me. I am drowning. At the moment, the children are safe from the bomb because it is so massive to dig in, and the trigger mechanism requires much work to get it adjusted just right. But if I hold back too long from No 9, I'm not sure what that refers to, I will lose all control of myself and set the bomb up. Please help me. I cannot remain in control for much longer." And then this letter is signed with the Zodiac symbol. The fact that the Zodiac's letter to Melvin Belli came on the 1-year anniversary of the murders of Betty Jensen and David Faraday is telling, I think. It suggests that those murders had special significance to the Zodiac, such that they needed to be commemorated or marked somehow. In my view, this increases the likelihood that the Jensen-Faraday murders were Zodiac's first, and that he did not murder Cherry Joe Bates in Riverside, as some have speculated. Now, the letter starts off, "Dear Melvin, this is the Zodiac speaking. I wish you a happy Christmas." Notice that the writer is still using the phrase, "the Zodiac," and that he continues to spell Christmas as a combination of Christ and Mass. These two elements alone would tend to authenticate the letter as having been written by the Zodiac, because some people have questioned whether or not it was, because it strikes such a different tone. I say tend because this letter is such a break with the previous letters that it gives me room for a bit of doubt. For example, there were probably some unknown number of persons in the inner investigative circle who would have seen the previous letters and who could have forged one. But of course, I think that's unlikely. As a psychologist, I want to believe that this letter was in fact written by the Zodiac and that he was sincere in writing it. However, I'm a little cautious because he has shown himself so capable of cunning tricks and because he is so manipulative. I fear he is saying just the things that I, as a psychologist, might expect and would want to hear. If future letters from him have this confessional tone, though, this "stop me before I kill again" approach, it would tend to increase my confidence that the writer was sincere. On the other hand, if the writer returns to his usual style, it might be indicative of some type of personality splitting going on here. However, for the purposes of profiling, I'm going to proceed with this letter as if it is genuinely meant and take it at face value. "I wish you a happy Christmas. does not sound like the Zodiac of any of the previous letters. This Christmas wish almost sounds sincere, as if the writer is actually coming to Belli as a supplicant. Now the letter goes on to say, "The one thing I ask of you is this: please help me. I cannot reach out for help because of this thing in me won't let me." For the first time, the writer reveals something of his inner pain. For the first time, we can begin to empathize with him as a fellow human being who is suffering. He begins to sound less like a mindless shark and more like a hurting person who, either by virtue of environment, heredity, brain malfunction, or possibly all of these things, finds himself compelled to do horrible violence, yet is struggling against it. He goes on to write, "I am finding it extremely difficult to hold it in check." This is the first clear evidence of an inner struggle that we've assumed all along, so it's not surprising. Previously, I've described the writer as totally without remorse. However, I now get the impression that he is split, that there are these two parts of him which are at war. The hurting, vulnerable, inner child part is experiencing the raging killer part as alien. Quotes, "I cannot reach out for help because of this thing in me won't let me." Intellectually, he's aware that he is the killer, but he feels as if there's an alien thing driving him onward. He goes on to write, "Afraid I will lose control again and take my 9th and possibly 10th victim. Please help me, I'm drowning." I'm struck here by the word drowning. It's one that children frequently coin. In this context, I think it makes the writer's plea all the more poignant, as if his inner child is crying out. The letter goes on, "At the moment, the children are safe from the bomb because," interestingly, at the moment in which his inner child may be speaking, the writer demonstrates empathy and compassion for the busload of children that he had previously threatened to kill. The letter goes on to say it's so massive to dig in, and the trigger mechanism requires much work to get it adjusted just right. So we see, though, that the empathy was short-lived, and it passes almost immediately, and the writer slips back into his more familiar technical planning mode. Empathy has faded, and the technical problems of bomb-making are coming to the forefront of his consciousness. One can almost see the struggle right here on the page. One moment he's empathizing with children, and the next he's feeling sorry for himself about how much work it will be to set up the bomb. The letter goes on, "But if I hold back too long from from number 9, maybe that's it, I will lose all control of myself and set the bomb up. Please help me. I cannot remain in control much longer." The writer's plea comes across as very pitiable and compelling. Assuming that this cry for help is sincere, I have to believe that for some reason Zodiac viewed Belli as a benign father figure, the powerful man who could somehow reach out and save him from himself. In every other letter, Zodiac has consistently shown himself to be contemptuous of authority. That attitude probably reflected a great anger at father figure representations such as the police, the law, government, and so on, but that rage may also be a reaction to wounded hopes for father figure bonding. In this letter, we may be seeing a brief glimpse of the wounded child and the longing for a powerful and benign father figure. One must wonder why this letter is so different from the others. Please watch for subsequent episodes in which I'll continue to move through the Zodiac material. And if you're interested in psychology, be sure to check out my podcast series, Shrink Wrap Radio, at www.shrinkwrapradio.com. Until next time.